In a small, sleepy town tucked away in the hills, there was a secondary school with its share of ordinary students and the occasional extraordinary one. Among them was Ada, a mysterious girl who always wore a mask that covered the lower half of her face. She was known for her intelligence and grace, but her mask set her apart, earning her whispered nicknames like the Phantom Beauty. Ada's classmates wondered why she never removed the mask. Was it a fashion statement? A way to hide a scar? No one dared to ask her directly. Why does she always wear that thing? Do you think she's hiding something? One of the students asked mockingly one day. Maybe she's part robot, or she got fangs like a vampire, another student replied. They all giggled, but Ada kept her head down. Despite the whispers, Ada moved through the school hallways with quiet dignity, her eyes the only window to her emotions, eyes that seemed to hold secrets as vast as the ocean. What her classmates didn't know was that Ada's mask hid more than her face. It hid a curse. Since she was a baby, anyone outside her parents who saw her bare face fell ill almost instantly, struck by mysterious fevers and unexplainable ailments. Her parents, desperate to protect her and others, had consulted doctors, spiritual leaders, and even traditional healers, but no one could lift the curse. Finally, an old herbalist told them that Ada's beauty was like the sun, too brilliant for ordinary people to behold without harm. From that day, Ada wore a mask whenever she left home. At first, Ada resented the mask. She longed to smile freely, to feel the wind on her face, and to laugh with her friends without the barrier of cloth and elastic. But as she grew older, she began to accept her reality. She excelled in her studies, kept to herself, and developed a reputation for being aloof. It was easier to maintain the distance her course required. One day, a new student joined Ada's class. His name was Emeka, and he was as curious as he was charming. Unlike the others, Emeka wasn't deterred by Ada's mask. In fact, he was drawn to her, intrigued by the mystery she carried. Hi, I'm Emeka, new here. What's your name? Emeka walked up to Ada immediately. He entered the classroom. Ada, she replied sharply without looking up. Cool name. So what's with the mask? He asked curiously, noticing the mask. It's personal, Ada replied firmly. Emeka gave a warm smile, unfazed by her tone. Fair enough. Everyone's got their thing. I guess mine is asking too many questions. For the first time, Ada smiled faintly behind her mask. Ada wasn't comfortable with Emeka coming close to her, but slowly and surely, he broke through her walls, chatting with her during breaks and walking her home after school. You don't have to tell me why you wear the mask, Emeka said one afternoon as they strolled under the trees. I just want to be your friend. Ada felt a warmth she hadn't known in years, but she kept her secret close, afraid that even friendship could not survive the truth. One day, Ada sat under a tree at the schoolyard, sketching in her notebook. Emeka approached her, holding 2 bottles of soda. Thought you might be thirsty, Emeka said, handing the soda to her. Thanks, but you don't have to, Ada replied, looking at him. I know I don't have to, but I want to, Emeka said, cutting her off. He sat beside her. They shared a comfortable silence until a gust of wind blew through the yard, lifting Ada's scarf slightly. A nearby student who caught a glimpse of her face stumbled and collapsed, clutching her head. I feel sick, the student muttered faintly. Panic began to spread amongst the students. Ada quickly adjusted her scarf, her hands trembling. Emeka looked at her, confused but concerned. What just happened? Did you? Emeka asked curiously, steadily gazing at her. I warned you, Emeka. It's not safe to be around me, Ada replied. This time around, she turned back, trying to avoid Emeka's gaze. You can't scare me off that easily, Ada. Tell me what's going on. Ada hesitated, her eyes filled with unshed tears, but she shook her head and walked away. On the day of the school's inter-house sports, the crowd was cheering as relay race takes place. Suddenly, smoke started rising from the snack stall. Flames spreaded rapidly, causing chaos. "Everyone evacuate! Stay calm!" the teacher yelled from his spot. Ada saw a group of younger students trapped near the fire. Without thinking, she ran towards them. Emeka spotted her and followed. "Ada, wait! It's too dangerous." "They need help," Ada replied. She helped the children climb out through a gap in the fence, but as she carried the last child, the heat caused the elastic of her mask to snap. It fell away, and her face was fully revealed to the crowd. Gasps rippled through the onlookers as they beheld her beauty, ethereal, radiant, almost outwardly. But then came the horror. People began collapsing, clutching their heads and chests. Ada's heart broke as she saw what she had feared for years unfolding before her eyes. A wave of sickness swept over them. Students and teachers clutched their heads and collapsed. Ada froze, horror-stricken. "No, not again," she whispered to herself. "Ada, look at me. This isn't your fault. Let's get out of here," Emeka said, grabbing her shoulders. He helped her to safety, even as she sobbed uncontrollably. That night, in Ada's home, she sat on her bed, her face buried in her hands. Her parents sat beside her, helplessly. A knock on the door interrupted the silence. An old man entered, leaning on a walking stick. It was the same herbalist her parents had consulted years ago, only now he looked much older, his once steady hands trembling slightly. "I heard what happened. The time has come for you to know the truth, child," the herbalist said, his voice tingled with sorrow. "The truth? You mean why I've spent my whole life hiding? Why everyone who sees my face suffers?" Ada replied him. The herbalist nodded and sat down. "The curse is not what you think it is. Your beauty is extraordinary. Yes, but the sickness is not a curse. It is fear. Fear of something too bright, too different. People's minds rebel against what they cannot understand." "So, I've been living in fear for nothing?" Ada asked hesitantly. "Not nothing, my child. Fear taught you strength. Now let love teach you freedom." Ada's parents listened intently as the herbalist continued. "The curse was never about beauty. It was about the fear that people would see something too extraordinary and reject it. The sickness they experience is not physical but emotional, a manifestation of their minds struggling to process your uniqueness." "But why are only my parents immune?" Ada asked. "Because their love for you is pure and unconditional. Others must learn to see you with the same kind of love." Armed with this new understanding, Ada decided to confront her fear. The next day, she returned to school without her mask. Whispers filled the hallways, but this time, Ada held her head high. When a classmate approached her with hesitation, she smiled softly. "It's okay," she said. "I am not hiding anymore." At first, the students were wary. Some even felt lightheaded or uneasy. She took permission from the teachers, telling them she needed to address the students, and they obliged her. She walked to the school assembly and stood on the stage, her face uncovered. The students murmured nervously, but Emeka stood in front row, his gaze steady and encouraging. "I've hidden my face for years, believing I was cursed, but I've learned that the real cause is fear, mine and yours. I'm done hiding. I hope one day you will see me for who I am, not what you fear I might be. Do not dare any more fear when you see me. And when I see you, I no longer nurture the fear that something might happen to you." The assembly ground was silent. Then Emeka began to clap. Slowly, others joined in. Ada's heart raced, but she smiled through her tears. As days turned into weeks, something incredible happened. The unease faded, replaced by admiration, respect, and even affection. People no longer saw Ada as a threat, but as a girl who had suffered alone for too long. Emeka, true to his word, remained by her side. "I told you I just wanted to be your friend," he said with a grin. "Now the whole world gets to see what I saw all along," he said to her one evening as they sat on a bench at the backyard of Ada, surrounded by blooming white flowers. "So what now?" he asked. "Now I help others unmask their fears. No one should have to live in the shadows like I did," Ada replied. "Sounds like a plan. Just don't forget about me when you are famous." Emeka grinned. "You are impossible to forget, Emeka," Ada said, smiling at him. The transformation in Ada's life was more profound than anyone had anticipated. She began to walk through the world with a newfound confidence. Her once hidden face now a symbol of resilience and hope. People from her neighborhood would usually stop to snap with her, admiring her unique beauty. Students from other schools heard about the girl who dared to unmask, and some even came to meet her, curious and inspired by her story. Despite the admiration, Ada remained humble. She joined the school's debate team, started volunteering to tutor younger students, and participated in community events. Her voice, once quiet and cautious, grew steady and powerful. Yet, amidst her rising popularity, she never forgot the pain of her isolation and vowed to use her story to uplift others. One rainy afternoon, as Ada walked home, she noticed a familiar figure waiting under the mango tree near her house. It was a herbalist. His frail frame was hunched against the rain, but his eyes held the same sharpness as before. "I see you found your light, child," he said, his voice filled with pride. Ada nodded. "Thanks to you, but I still don't understand. Why did the curse affect me in the first place? Why was I chosen?" The herbalist smiled enigmatically. "You weren't chosen, Ada. You were born this way. Just like a star doesn't choose to shine, it simply does. The world wasn't ready for your lights, so it recoiled. But now you've taught them to look and not turn away. That is your gift." As he turned to leave, he handed her a small pouch. "Plant these seeds, child. They will grow into something beautiful, just like you, the garden of lights." Ada followed his instructions and planted the seeds in her backyard. Over the next few weeks, they grew into a stunning array of white flowers, their colors so vibrant that they seemed to glow. The garden became a sanctuary for Ada, a place where she could reflect on her journey and dream of what lay ahead. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emeka joined her in the garden. "You've come a long way, Ada," he said, his voice soft. "Do you ever think about what's next?" Ada looked at him, her eyes sparkling like the stars above. "I do. I want to help others find their light too. There are so many people hiding behind masks, maybe not like mine, but masks of fear, doubt, or shame. I want to show them it's okay to be seen." As Ada moved into her final year of secondary school, she began giving talks about her experiences, not just in her town but in neighboring communities. She spoke about the power of self-acceptance, the importance of kindness, and the courage it takes to let the world see you as you truly are. Her story resonated far and wide, attracting the attention of journalists and even a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering young people. They offered Ada a scholarship to study psychology, a chance to turn her pain into purpose. On the day she left for university, the entire town gathered to see her off. Her classmates, teachers, and even strangers who had been touched by her story lined the streets, cheering and waving as she boarded the bus. Emeka was there too, a steady presence in the crowd, his smile full of pride. Years later, Ada returned to her home, no longer a girl but a woman who had embraced her destiny. She has started an organization in the city of Lagos called Unmasking Beauty, which provided counseling and support for young people struggling with self-esteem and identity issues. On her return, she held an event in the town square, inviting everyone to gather under the glow of lanterns and stars. As she stood before the crowd, Ada removed a scarf she had draped over her shoulders, symbolizing the shedding of fear and the embracing of truth. "Let this moment remind us," she said, her voice steady and strong, "that we are more than our fears, more than our pain. We are lights meant to shine." The crowd erupted in applause, their faces alight with admiration and gratitude. In that moment, Ada realized her journey had come full circle. She was no longer defined by the curse that once confined her. Instead, she had become a beacon of hope, proving that even the most extraordinary challenges can be transformed into extraordinary gifts. And so, the girl who once hid behind a mask became a woman who inspired others to unmask their own beauty. Emeka graduated from the university and received a scholarship for his master's abroad. To seal their relationship, he married Ada in an intimate romantic wedding, attended by their friends, family, and all who had known them since childhood. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this story? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this story and share it with friends. Also, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on notifications. We have more interesting stories to share. Thank you for watching.